Okay, I'll be unboxing and reviewing this new pump from Coralbox, the QP-9. Supposedly it is a very quiet pump, and that's the main reason that I got it, but we're going to test it out. So let's start to open the package and see what's inside. Well, here we have the aqua pump controller. It's going to connect to the pump and allow us to control it. I see it has 6 modes. We're going to see what they are. According to the pictures we can have an idea. Also a night sensor. And supposedly this is a Wi-Fi pump. So here we have the power supply and the pump itself. So the pump looks sturdy, it's not big. In terms of being, because in my case I have anemones, and that was one of my concerns because I have some foam covers for the front part, but they don't reach the back. But the back looks to be very thin, so I don't think it will be able to suck easily an anemone through the back part. So if we protect the front, I think it will be fine. I'm going to test it out because my tank is filled with anemones. Here we have the magnet, and you can see there's some kind of dampeners here, will probably help reducing the sound, because as you can see here it has some elasticity because of the rubber, and here is the magnet. The magnet seems to be very strong, and the pump seems also to be very sturdy. Doesn't look cheap at all, not at all. It looks very solid. It's kind of heavy, and the plastic, it's not thin. I don't think it's easy to break this thing. So this will connect here. And here we'll connect the power supply. It's we don't need instructions for this. So without further ado, let's put it in the tank and test it and compare it with my existing pump. Okay, this is my tank now without any pumps on, besides the slow stream from the UV unit, and I'm going to turn the pump that I had in the aquarium, which is Jebao RW-8, and I'm going to check the noise and allow us to see the kind of wave that it's able to make. Okay, the pulse, and I have my tablet near the pump measuring the noise. It seems to raise the noise level of the room by 10 decibels. It goes to 15 decibels. If I'm close to the camera, we're going to take a look. Well, you can hear it in the room. Very clear to hear. Even when the skimmer is on, you can hear the pump a bit above the skimmer. And I'm going to install now the new pump, the coral box, and we'll try to see again how much flow it can produce and also the noise. Okay, I'm going to turn my old pump off. And I'm going to turn on the new pump. Okay, to start with, the controller. As you can see, it's much neater than the Jebaos controller. It has an LCD which allows you to see information. And let's try to reduce the speed. It's here in the green button. We can reduce the speed here and increase. Okay, right now I can see, because it's moving all my sand at maximum speed, that it is more powerful than the RW-8 and I have to dial it down. Here we have the modes. It's in mode 1, which is constant. Now let's get it to mode 2. And I think now it's safe to increase the speed back to the maximum, which is 9. Here in the blue button I see that we can control the frequency, and it's here. Now it's 64, 65, and we can adjust it to create the wave that we want in the tank. So now I'm going to pause the video so that I can adjust the right frequency. Okay, so 2 months have passed since I made the first part of the video, and I wanted to give it a little more time, because at first I wasn't noticing any major difference between the Coral Box QP-9 and the RW-8 from Jebao in terms of noise. And I thought maybe the pump needed some kind of break-in period. So I allowed the 2 months to pass and test the pump. Overall, I must say I'm happy with the pump. And I can now, with this time, now I'm able to tell you a little bit more about this pump with experience. So, I'll go first into the controller. As you can see here, there is a light sensor, and here you have an illustration of all the 6 modes that the pump has available. You have an LCD screen here, which you can turn on just by pressing any button. It turns on. And here are the 4 buttons you use to control the pump. So, the modes you have up here. It's currently in mode 2. Here you have the frequency, which applies to some of the modes. Here the strength of the flow, which goes from 1 to 9. By the way, the frequency goes from 1 to 99. Here on the lower row you have L on. This means that the light sensor is turned on. So when the ambient light is too low, the pump goes into night mode, which is a constant flow at a reduced speed, which might be interesting for some of you who want calmer waters in the tank during nighttime. The FE is used when you want to do some feeding and want the pump to completely turn off, and it turns off for 10 minutes. And here is the Wi-Fi indicator, which currently is no, because I only have one pump. And there are two modes here which require more than one pump. So let's go into the modes. The first mode, I'm going to press the mode button to change it to 1 repeatedly. Mode 1, as you can see here, is a constant flow, and right now it is too strong for my tank, so I can use here the speed button to reduce it. You see, pressing it goes down, and when it reaches 1 and you continue to press, it goes up. I can tell you that at flow 5 I can't hear the pump. 6, I still can't hear the pump at all. 7, still can't hear the pump. And now 8 and 9, I can't hear it. Really, it's inaudible. I can't notice by the noise if the pump is in maximum flow or minimum flow, which is great. That's something that I didn't notice when I first installed the pump in the tank. I could definitely hear it. So now I think this is one major advantage that this pump has over the Jebao RW-8. So that's it. The frequency, of course, because this is a constant flow, doesn't have any influence on the flow. And I'm going to change to mode 2, which is pulse mode. In pulse mode, you can control the flow, which is the strength of the pump, and the frequency. The frequency is a bit tricky. The flow, we already see that here we have the button for speed, and by pressing you can adjust the flow from 1 till 9. I'm going to put it at 9 because the tank is a 400 liter tank, so it can handle the maximum flow in pulse mode. To change the frequency, you have to take into account this small minus or plus sign here, because when you press the blue button, which has the frequency button, you see now it's going down. So it's the frequency, it means the pump is pulsing faster the lower you get. If you leave it, press the button, it goes faster down. So now, to tell you the truth, I can't hear the pump pulsing, and it's on maximum flow and I can't hear it pulsing. So I think it's great. Which is normally pumps, when you have them on constant flow, their noise kind of blends in and it's hard to notice. When you have them on pulse, and because you want waves, you can normally hear the difference in sound. But I can tell you that at the moment I can't hear the pump at all. So how to make, you see that now the frequency is at 1, which is the minimum, and if I want to bring it up, I have to press for a few seconds the orange button here, which has the two arrows in left and right. And you see, when I press it for a few seconds, this sign here will change to the opposite sign, which means that it prepare to increase the value. So I'll press it for just a couple of seconds and see the sign changed. And now when I press the frequency, it increases, it can go up to 99. I already tested this pump and I know that to create a wave in this tank, 40 is the best value. This is also a big advantage over the Jebao pump, which has a dial, which you dial clockwise or anti-clockwise. And so this is a digital way of controlling the pump, which is much better, because on the other pumps, because it's a dial, you can't have an idea of the exact value, and every time you want to change that, it always means that you have to spend a lot of time trying to tune in the wave. Here, every time I need to change this value of frequency for whatever reason, I know that to create the wave again, I just have to put 40 here, which is much easier. Of course, this LCD screen is a big help also compared to the other pumps, which don't have any information, visual information. So this is the pulse mode, which the pump turns on and off. The speed is controlled by the frequency, and the strength controlled by the flow here, which is currently at maximum. My tank is an anemone dominated tank, so I definitely love the waves. It gives a very nice effect. So now the mode 3 here, I press the mode and it changes to mode 3, is a mode that requires two pumps to test and allows the pump to work in sync. For instance, if you have one pump on one side on the left and one pump on the right, then can work in sync opposite to one. So when one turns on, the other turns off, and so on. I don't have two pumps, so I can't test this at the moment. So now I'll go into mode 4, which is a mode which allows the pump, let's press to go to mode 4, to slowly go up and down. The speed as it goes ramps up and ramps down is controlled by the frequency. The maximum strength is controlled by the number you have here at the flow. To change the frequency, you have this button to change, and if you want to change the mode, which is to increase the frequency, also reduce the frequency, you press here for just 1 second, like in the previous mode, and you know the sign changed. This means that when I press now the frequency, it goes down, and if I press here for 2 seconds, the sign changed and the frequency goes up. This is different from the mode 2, which is the pulse mode, because here, instead of going from 0 to maximum flow and vice versa, the pump ramps slowly up and down the speed. The mode 5 is a random mode, and the frequency also has an impact here, because this controls how fast the speed changes. If you have a very chaotic speed, you have a low number here. The pump changes speed quickly, as a very chaotic flow. If you increase this to the maximum value, it's still random, but it changes slowly. So it's interesting. If I would have any suggestion to this, and I remember the Vortex pumps already at these many years ago, which was a mode that would allow to, for instance, have the pulse for a while and then maximum or random for a while, and it changed automatically between the two. I'm not sure if here the satellite mode allows this, because once again the 6th mode requires several pumps, and it can control several pumps together. And I know that a timer also comes into play here. So coming back to the 5th mode, it's also a very interesting mode, and if you have two pumps, in my case, I would put one in pulse to create waves, and the other in this random mode to create a more chaotic flow in the tank. Overall, main advantages of this pump, I would point that this light sensor is very interesting, because It measures the light in the environment, and according to the light in the environment, it goes into night mode. The screen is also a big advantage. The fact that you can see digital information on the screen is a big advantage, especially when you have to create wave modes, which instead of having dials to turn left and right, you have a precise value. It's also a big... And after 2 months, I can say that the pump is quieter. Although the RW is already for me a quiet pump, it's not too noisy, but this one is even better in that. So it's one of the major things that they advertise is that this is a quiet pump, and it's true. But I need to allow it to have a break-in period. So would I recommend this pump over the RW? Well, there is also, in my case, a disadvantage over the RW, which is a big one for me, but it probably won't be for the most of you. I have an anemone dominated tank, and anemones, unlike many other corals, don't move around. And so you need to have guards on your pumps. And this pump has a grill that is wider, which means things, even small fish could get, or shrimp could get through the grill and get shredded by the propeller. So especially taking into account that they have lots of anemones, you need to have some kind of guard around to protect it. So take that into account, because the space between the blades that protect the pump is wider. Aesthetically, they're very similar, but I would go for the RW as it's a bit more pleasing to the eye, because this one looks in fact more sturdy. It looks that it will last for a long time. The plastic doesn't look as flimsy, although it doesn't look as pretty for me compared to the RW-8. So I don't think you can go wrong with this pump. I have it running for over 2 months. It got more quiet, and I would definitely recommend it.